B'Shem Hashem Naseh v'Nasteach. Be'ezat Hashem, tonight we continue Shalom Bayit lessons from wonderful Sefer of Harav Eliezer ben David, Alav Shalom. Shuvu lachem le'ohalechem. Return to your homes. So the lesson of tonight is the famous expression Ishto kegufo, that one's wife is like himself. Once you get married to your wife, it's not like a separate entity, it's like reunion. So we're going to explore on this and learn more about this. So it says Harav Eliezer ben David alav shalom, haqesher shelanu im HaKadosh Baruch Hu hu qesher nischi, that our connection with Hashem, our the way that we are connected with Hashem, the kesher, the tie that we are tied with Hashem, the connection is a connection that is nischi, is forever. It never changes. En davar be'olam shebekokho lenatech chas v'shalom qesher ze, and there is nothing that can come, shake, change, or challenge this connection that we have with Hashem. Gam im yavu chas v'shalom nevi'eh sheker v'yochichu be'otot u'bemoftim im nachonot devreihem kasher hem yidrushu meitanu na'avor afilu al isur echad min haTorah omerat ken haTorah. So even if a prophet comes and he showcases all sorts of nisim, miracles, all sorts of wonders, right, making you believe that he has some sort of a supernatural power, and he comes to you with prophecies, he walks on the river, he does all sorts of things that's showing that I'm the prophet, and at the same time he tells you, this law in Torah I disagree with. That law of Torah I don't believe that you should keep it. Or he comes showing one of the commandments of Hashem, says Hashem in the Torah, do not believe such a prophet. That prophet is a Navi Sheker. He's a Navi Sheker, he's a false prophet, and even though that he was able to show you all sorts of nisim, niflaot, miracles, but because of the fact that he's rejecting one of the commandments of Hashem, whether this is a positive commandment or negative commandment, right, he is automatically rejected. Rejected. You cannot believe him. You need to reject him. He's rejected. He is not credible anymore because he is not believing the whole Torah. The whole Torah is one unit. It's one unit. It's one law. It's all one thing. It's either the whole or chas v'shalom nothing, in a sense. That we must keep the whole Torah. That comes to remind us, unfortunately, those man-made movements of reform and conservatives, that many times people who follow them, they don't know better. They're making a very big mistake, and they're coming to realize their mistakes, that they're losing members. Why?
They do their best.
Yeah, they say that they're doing their best, but unfortunately, the big leaders on the top, they know that they're changing the laws of Torah, and that is not something right. That is something what Torah tells us. Navi Sheker, do not follow that prophet, do not follow that leader. And unfortunately, we see among these groups a lot of, maybe more than 80%, maybe even more these days, of intermarriage, right? There's a lot of problems among them. Why? Because Torah is given by Almighty Hashem. One cannot come and say, this law I follow, this other law I don't follow. It's one whole thing. Now a person could say, okay, I'm not up to this law yet. I'm trying, I'm getting there, hopefully, Be'ezat Hashem. That's understandable. But to come and reject one law, that is something that Torah tells us that prophet is a Navi Sheker. So let's go on. We're trying to make a point over here. Harav Eliezer ben David alav Shalom is coming to connect this to the fact that just like Torah is one unit, is one uniquely given manual, so too in marriage is one bound, is a bound that is unshakable. It's a bound that you cannot come break, you cannot pick and choose, right? You need to accept it the way that it is. It's a package deal, right? Like in Iran, I remember when you wanted to buy fruits, you had to go and take a bag, and whatever it was, you had to put in it. They would not allow you to choose. Later, I was told that there were other markets that they sold fruits, and they would allow you to choose, but you had to pay more for that, right? So the Havdil, to make a big difference when it comes to marriage, when it comes to our relationship with Hashem, that our relationship with Hashem is very comparable with one's reunion. That reunion is unshakable, is not pick and choose. It's a one big package that comes with all these, with all its beauty and with all its challenges. We see, unfortunately, in our society, there are those who decide not to get married because they think they can satisfy their needs outside of the umbrella of marriage. They're making a very big mistake, because the marriage that we talk about is something spiritual, as we're going to explain, and it's something that cannot be achieved, cannot be acquired other than institution of marriage. Okay, so as it says in Devarim, in the Torah, the fifth Sefer tells us, Ki minsa Hashem etchem lada'at ohavim et Hashem elokechem. Ahavat Hashem einena nitenet leshinui lemarot kol ha'otot umumuftiv shebe'olam. That the love of Hashem is unshakable. We cannot come to say, okay, I love Hashem and I'm going to follow only this one law, right? This other law. No, if you love Hashem, you need to love Him the way that Hashem is presenting Himself to you. The way that Torah is, as our manual of life, is our connection with Hashem. You know Torah, you know Hashem. You know the commandments of Torah, right? You understand how to be a good human being. If you don't know, then unfortunately, right, you don't have a role model. Kachem panay adevarim gam beyachas lebaal veishto. So too is the relationship between husband and wife. Hanisuin hofechim otam leadam echad. Mimela kasher hem yeshuv achad. Haem itachen she'adam laharchik. So when a person gets married, as we know, according to Zohar HaKadosh teaches us that 40 days before one's embryo is shaped, right, that the baby, right, becomes a baby in mother's womb, right, there is a batqol, there is a heavenly voice goes out that says, so and so is going to get married with so and so. In other words, this heavenly voice already announces who is going to be the soulmate. So our Chachamim teach us right there, that neshama that is shaping, the soul that is shaping inside the womb in the form of a baby, is already connected in a spiritual sense with the soulmate. And when the baby is born, the soulmate gets disconnected. Soulmate goes in another baby. They both get born and they come to this universe, and their goal is to find each other, right? And Hashem would help these two souls to get together many times, right? And the ultimate goal of a person is to find that very soulmate. It could be very early in life. It could be the first marriage. Sometimes it could be the second marriage. Right? Lo aleinu should be the first marriage, easily for all of us. But this is something that our Chachamim teach us. And Harav ben David alayhi shalom teaches us from our Chachamim. If your relationship with your wife, with your husband, is like unshakable relationship between a Yehudi, a Jew, and Hashem, right? That means if the wife does something wrong, you don't shout, right? If the husband, right, is not behaving or is not respecting wife, the wife should not harm husband. They need to understand each other as the right hand and the left hand. The right hand is supposed to be the wife. That's why when the wife is going under the canopy of marriage, the chuppah, the wife is supposed to stand on the right side of the man, because the wife, one's wife, is the right hand of the husband, right? And there's a lot of concepts that we try to re-alive it under the chuppah. Nowadays, unfortunately, the chuppah that we have is not the original chuppah that was supposed to be. Nowadays has become a show, which has a lot of problems by itself, a lot of halachic problems, right? Many halachic rabbanim would prohibit that which goes on in the chuppah of our city in Los Angeles. A lot of mistakes, unfortunately. Hashem should help us to realize the mistakes and correct them. So if the right hand, right, would accidentally, right, cause pain to the left hand would not pick up the knife and cut or injure the right hand. So that's the same relationship that husband and wife should have, right? Ish do ke gufo, that one's wife is like the husband's own body, right? That they are the real body, as they say in English. La'achar hanisuim harezo ishto hi shelo chelek mimenu. That wife is exact, as if to say, like the body parts of the limbs, same limb of that husband. Kishem she'en hadam ko'es al yado al raglo. Would you become upset at your hand? Oh, my hand, you didn't do a good job. Bang. You don't do that. You don't hurt your leg, right? It's all one body, right? If somebody does that, chas v'shalom, he needs to see a professional psychologist, right? He needs to see what's going on, right? Kach ein makom lit'on ad ishto. So too, one should not shout, should not misbehave with his wife, right? Right? Machsheva sagur ze, masuk ze, ke asher hi horared el halev penima, וכוחה לסייע מאוד להתגבר על ראשים הנוסרים בחיי הנישואין, לסייע לחיזוק איחוד הלבבות בין הבעל לאשתו. So one who understands this, that would encourage him to have peace and harmony at home. Amen. That would encourage him not to harm his wife or her husband. I think about this. This is a very deep idea, right? But this is something that is very simple. We all have to observe it. So next time that a person remembers why my wife did not do this or that, you don't say, my wife is a separate entity. Your wife is yourself. Your wife is yourself, right? Same thing. Your husband, right, is yourself, right? you wouldn't harm yourself. כאשר האדם משכנע מאשתו היא זו המיועדת לו מן השמיים. This is the wife or husband that Hashem has designated for you, right? If she has certain shortcomings, right, there is a reason behind that, and perhaps those shortcomings are in your soul that Hashem is showcasing it to you. It's like a mirror that you need to come and fix that in yourself. That's what Baal Shem Tov alav Shalom teaches us. That which a person sees in his life, in others, that which you see and it doesn't look good, if you got to see such a thing, it's a wake-up call that you have certain attribute, characteristic inside your soul, your neshama, that you need to get rid of, right? That a person needs to work on himself to become Shalom, as we spoke about this before, to become complete. באותו שעה נעלים ראשים רבים והדרך לנישואין מאושרים פחות לפניהם. So at that moment that you have hardship, you need to emphasize, encourage, right, yourself, not to go out of patience, not to be impatient, not to get into argument, rather to understand. I try to understand that this is not somebody else, right? This is not coming from somebody else. This is coming from yourself. And with that, it's much easier to have peace and harmony. With that, all these, so-called marriage counselors, that many times, unfortunately, they don't do a good job. There are some good ones also. I recommend the Orthodox ones because they have more fear of God and they are not after making another visit, charge or so forth, unfortunately. And they tend to become very expensive, right? You don't need to go to a marriage counselor. You pick up the Torah, you learn this one lesson, this is a lesson for life. And you just have to apply it. You forget, definitely you forget. But you got to remind yourself, and through that, you will have peace and harmony, Be'ezat Hashem, for all of us. Amen. For all the singles, Be'ezat Hashem, soon, that they should find their soulmates, right? And Be'ezat Hashem, for those who are married, they should have peace and harmony. Be'ezat Hashem, Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen. Amen.